Mitigating earthquake injuries. Earthquakes occur when masses of rock in the Earth's crust, known as the tectonic plates, slide past each other along what is known as a fault. When this occurs, a large amount of energy is released, and it propagates as a large amount of seismic waves. These seismic waves jostle the Earth's surface and cause significant structural damage and many injuries. As a result of an earthquake, a lot of the time it'll cause injuries through structural collapse, falling objects, chemical spills, fires, automobile accidents, and so on. Now, seismic damage to structures, this is usually a result of either racking, sliding, overturning, or sinking. Racking occurs when the building goes back and forth. Sliding is whenever it slides off of its own foundation. Overturning is when it actually lifts up and over. Earthquakes actually do have some lateral motions. And sinking occurs whenever liquefaction of the soil occurs, which essentially turns soft soils into quicksand. The taller the building, the greater the effect of this horizontal displacement, or also known as shaking, occurs. I think it's important to point out that everything moves during an earthquake. People, objects, everything inside of a house, cars, and that sort. Now, 80% of all buildings in the United States are light frame houses, light frame wooden houses. FEMA recognizes them as being pretty structurally sound in an earthquake. This is mostly due to the finished materials and the non-structural partitions that are put inside, so you can separate different rooms. Non-finished materials such as drywall. And this is even true if it's built to just the minimum standards. But that doesn't mean that injuries do not occur. Structural collapse is still the leading cause of injury in an earthquake, and should be mitigated through proper building practices, which I'll get into in a little bit. And other injuries could be from falling objects or the breaking of gas lines and water lines, which I will also get into in a minute. Soft story retrofitting. What a soft story is basically a building has a very large open area at the bottom. This is usually used for either a parking space, lobby, or a large window. This is problematic because this doesn't really include a lot of lateral support for the first story, and if an earthquake occurs and these in-place systems fail, the entire building will pancake on itself and, like in the picture, crush everything, which you don't want to be under that. So, to retrofit this, you need either glulam beams or steel beams, and then the addition of shear walls to help resist this lateral force. And that's usually 1 to 3% of the actual total cost of the building, and it's pretty expensive if you don't have it in place already. So it's much better to build it as you're building a structure. Then, because you could either rack or slide on the foundation, you need it bolted down. This can be done through bolting or anchoring down the sill plates to the foundation, and it greatly reduces any sort of risk from that. Then you get to the actual problems that occur indoors during an earthquake. Things that fall, glass, anything heavy, those are things that need to be either locked up or just put down low. Chemicals and so on, those also need to be put away in secure locations. This can be done through mechanical latches on cabinets and drawers. Mirrors, glass picture frames, all those need to be properly secured with open eye screws, usually about 2 inches long. Make sure they go into the walls. And heavier things, such as bookcases and ovens, you need those to be bolted to the walls. Just don't put heavy things up high that are going to be posing any sort of risk, and there shouldn't be a problem. As far as gas and water Utilities. These need to be properly secured either through ties, like in the picture, or they need to be bolted to the ground properly. On top of that, you need flexible connector hoses. That way, if the appliance and its bolting or tying connection does fail, these connections don't break and rupture, causing either gas or water to pour into your house. And that'll mitigate any sort of risk of extensive flooding or fires occurring within your house. And so to conclude, structural retrofitting for seismic activity, it greatly reduces any sort of personal risk to your persons or property. And for the most part, yes, it's kind of expensive, but California has plenty of seismic rewards for retrofitting. They have financial rewards for retrofitting. It'll help lower your premiums and so on. And for the most part, it's for your own personal safety. So overall, it should be done, and when it comes down to it, really comes down to the homeowner to really make sure this occurs. In general, California still doesn't have very strict standards when it comes to residential homes, but overall, you have plenty to gain from it, and it will protect you when you're living inside of an earthquake-prone zone. Thank you.